Hello there guys, it's Ebird Online and I'm here to talk to you today about David and Lana. Yes, this is 90 Day Fiance Before the 90 Days, Season 4, Episode 12, King of Wishful Thinking. So honestly guys, I never ever thought I'd be doing another review about David and Lana. I, along with the rest of humanity, had given up all hope that Lana was actually real. But guess what? Lana is real and I'm shook. After being stood up in the Ukraine on 4 separate occasions, the 5th time was a charm, and now apparently David and Lana are engaged. I've got a feeling it's going to be engaged in a war of words because she's such a goddamn scammer. But I'm going to begin at the beginning and take you through how we got there. If you haven't already, please press that red button and subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Ebird99. So what's David been up to in the last 3 to 4 weeks? Well, he's been acting like a deluded mofo, as per usual. So the last time that I reviewed these guys, Lana didn't show up in Odessa at the train station and David drove all the way to Pavlograd because he had Lana's address. Now at this point the E-Bird was still with David. I was still rooting for him, so in fact if you remember I was willing him on. I was letting him know that we're right behind him. Come on David, you can do it. He drove all the way to Pavlograd. But when he finally arrived there, I had hoped he was going to just knock on her door and catch her unaware. And I was extremely upset when David went online and told Lana that he was in Pavlograd. He said, "Can you meet me for lunch?" Oh, David, why are you even telling her that you're around? Surely by this point you need the element of surprise. She'll certainly have it if she sees that wig. And so Lana agreed to meet him at a particular restaurant at 2 p.m. that day. And David said, "I can't wait. This is finally going to happen. I can't wait to kiss her and hold her." He went to the florist and bought flowers, and he waited diligently at the restaurant. He told us, if she just meets me for 5 minutes, it's 5 minutes longer than I've ever spent with her before. David, if she only meets with you for 5 minutes, that will be the piss take of all piss takes. In fact, I'll go so far as to say this: better she never ever meets you than turns up for 5 minutes. But as you guys all know anyway, she didn't show. David was crestfallen and he said, "How could she do this to me again?" With ease, David. With quite considerable ease. And what I found quite amusing about this scene was the waitress in the restaurant said it's an extremely common occurrence, and she said guys come in, they wait around for 2 hours and the girls don't turn up. It's quite a typical situation. And finally David decided to do what he was in Pavlograd to do: ambush Lana at her home address. He's nothing if not a stalker. So he went to the address and he knocked on the door. This is the moment of truth. Finally, Lana opens the door. But unfortunately we discover that Lana's a 65-year-old Ukrainian man who looks like he's seen better days, if the truth be told. And the Ukrainian man told a crestfallen David that Lana didn't live here, and he said he's been there since 1995 and there's no one in the whole of this building like Lana. And I couldn't help thinking at the time, David, you've been an idiot, because even if she did live there, she would have managed to get all her bases covered. So we're really none the wiser. And the old gentleman said, "I don't recommend any American men come to meet women like this." He needn't have worried, he's not. And finally, I think the message has been punched home. David firmly stated he was done with Lana. Unless of course she contacted him, and then it would be all back on again. Providing of course David continues to pay to speak to her. Oh Lord, if David was any slower, he'd need watering once a week. And David goes back to Las Vegas with his tail between his legs. His friend picked him up from the airport, and he told his friend that Lana had lied about her address, not bothered to meet him, and David said he now wants closure. David, is this not closure enough for you? She stood you up, not once, not twice, not thrice, but 4 times in a row. But David dipped into his book for excuses for idiots. He said maybe Lana didn't show up because she's really shy. Oh David, does this girl look shy to you? And his friend said he felt really sorry for him. Well, don't be, because David has a plan. David's decided to hire a defective detective. He wants questions answered. So basically he's gone to get a PI in the Ukraine, and he wants this PI to find Lana, to dig up where she is and to discover if she's fake or if she's real. Yes, she's real, all right, real shady. So the next time we see David, he's at home and his friend's wife, Victoria, is going to act as an interpreter for the defective detective to see what his research turns up. So I was waiting with bated breath because I expected him to say, "I've tracked this girl down and it turns out she lives with her boyfriend in a completely different city and this is her full-time job, scamming Americans online." But instead the detective just said, "It's a scam. She's got many different internet accounts with different names." And David said, "It's not true." And Victoria said, "Oh yes it is." And David said, "Her pictures have been stolen." And then the defective detective said this is a common scam. Victoria said, David, count your losses and start a new life. But David was absolutely furious. He shouted at the investigator, and then he was very terse with Victoria. Victoria said, don't get mad at me. I don't understand why you're hiring a private investigator anyway, if you're not accepting any facts that he's told you. So at this point, I'm going to say David was right not to accept any facts that he was told, because he wasn't given any facts. The world knows that this is a scam. Even if Lana exists or not, it's a massive scam. However, the point of this detective, as far as I'm concerned, is to find out where she lives, what her background is, and to actually prove that it's a scam. And the investigator didn't tell him any facts. He just said that she was on loads of websites, something which anybody could find out, and that he considered it to be a scam. According to David, she's not scamming and she's not earning money from the website. He believes people have stolen her pictures and are using them to catfish. So then the very worst thing that could have happened. He speaks with Lana and she tells him that she's now moved to Kiev with her sister. And Lana feels just horrible about the 4th time she stood him up. Oh, and what about the 1st, 2nd and 3rd time, Lana? Oh, it seems she's not so bothered. And Lana then said, I didn't meet you because it was overwhelming for me. And David said he knows in his heart of hearts that she's not scamming. And so he flew immediately to Kiev to meet her. And when he arrived at the hotel, Lana contacted him to say she was at her nephew's hockey game. And unfortunately, she couldn't meet with him until Monday. This was Friday, so David now has to wait for 3 days in a hotel room. Oh, David, what hockey game lasts a whole weekend? He says he's angry and he wants to put his foot down. Why doesn't Lana just prioritise him? Because, David, you're nothing but a paycheck. That's all you are now, and it's all you'll ever be. So in the meantime, David decides to meet with his defective detective, Sergei. And he also hires a translator for the meeting. They all sit down in what looks like a 1950s KGB restaurant. And the translator asks Sergei if he's managed to find out anything. And Sergei said that it's common in the Ukraine for this to happen and that Lana's a crook. David said, all I want you to do is to find out if she's in Kiev. But the detective said this is impossible because no matter where she's registered, she could live anywhere in the whole of the Ukraine. That's the whole point. That's why you're a private eye. You're supposed to have ways and means of tracking people down, taking photos, finding out who they live with, where they go, where they work, what they do. It seems to me you're doing the absolute least. And yet again, the defective detective decides to give David just his opinion. And he says he doesn't understand how a woman that loves you could go to a hockey game instead of meeting with you. And he said that she has 8 men like David, and he's already given him all the information he's going to. She's a scammer. And David said Sergei is giving me his opinion and not information. And he looked him straight in the eye and said, you, sir, are fired. The translator told him what he'd said, and when the lady translated for him, he looked completely unbothered. David decides to wait for Monday, and he turns up to meet Lana at the monument in Independence Square in the middle of Kiev. He wore a long trench coat, and he waited in the bitter cold for her. She was a little bit late, but when she finally turned up, I literally thought I was seeing a mirage. She walked straight up to him, and they smiled and hugged. And David said, wow. And that's where this story ends for now. So guys, I've been looking at the blogs, which normally I don't do, but I guess we're right near the end of the season. And apparently, David and Lana are now engaged. He proposed to her, with the cubic zirconia ring no doubt. She said yes. She's yet to get the ring valued. And David now says he wants to make the future a reality. Oh David, everyone's future's a reality. What you've got to consider is that your reality is that you're going to be driving around America in your RV on your own. So guys, let me know what you think of this whole thing. Why do you think Lana's turned up at this late stage? I can't work out what her motive might be. Even if she wants to go to America, does she really want to go with David to live in his RV? I sincerely doubt it. And irrespective of the fact that she's turned up, she's still quite clearly scamming him. He still has to pay every time he wants to speak to her. And besides being overwhelmed, she's given no reason for why she didn't turn up 4 times in a row. David's choosing to overlook all of this because now finally he's got his girl, and he said, finally I was proved right. David, you haven't been proved right. She's still a scamming little biatch. I'm just slightly more interested in this story than I was before, because now I just want to work out what's the reason for the scam. I've kind of got a feeling that she just decided this guy's so crazy, this guy is such a stalker, that I want to meet with him, give him 10 minutes of happiness, and then tell him face to face, we're finished, and let that be that. And that's what I think her only motive can be. So guys, let me know what you think. What do you think Lana's motive is? And also, what do you think to the private investigator? Do you think he did what he was asked to? I certainly don't. If I were David, I wouldn't pay him a penny. I'd save all my money for Lana. I think the defective detective should have got somebody to set up their own profile and just catfished Lana, invited to somewhere super expensive, or intimate they wanted to take her diamond shopping. And when she meets up, take a few photos and send the whole of the details to David. As far as I'm concerned, the man for the job is Joey Greco, you know, the guy from Cheaters. He always found it super easy to track somebody down and find out what they were doing. That's all he needed to do. But hey ho. And that's everything from these guys this week. I give them about a month before they're no longer engaged. If they're still engaged at the tell-all, I will be very, very shocked. Thank you so much for listening. If you've yet to do so, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and follow me on Twitter at Ebird99. You've been listening to Ebird Online. Ciao for now.